Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard BREAKDOwn.
I don't remember.
Well, okay, maybe I was just half wrong this week. I knew we'd be getting a pitch fight between Taylor Swift and the holiday music, but I did not expect her to win the way she did. For the most part. More to the point, between Kid Cudi and Jack Harlow, the artist I did not expect to see come out on top was Kid Cudi. I know he's regained some career traction since that slump across most of the 2010s, but 2020 has shown him more chart presence than I think he's ever had in his career, which has been a legit surprise for me. Now, this means that we actually got 2 album bombs this week, as both comfortably qualified, which leads to a bit of a mess on the rest of the Hot 100, leaving a lot of open questions. What will happen when both the album bombs fade and the likely Eminem album bomb coming next week, and along with all the holiday stuff. But in the meantime, our top 10, where to my surprise, Willow by Taylor Swift actually took the number 1. Now, it's not a number 1 for which I've got the same degree of respect as Cardigan. It's a weaker song, and to watch Taylor Swift play the remix game to boost sales because she couldn't win there, it feels kind of weirdly gauche, especially coming from her. But it was enough to beat All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey at number 2, which might have the holiday radio and enormous streaming, but it got beaten on YouTube and in the sales. Then we got 2 more Christmas songs, with Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee at number 3 and Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms at number 4. Again, no surprises. Followed by Mood by 24K Golden featuring Ian Dior stubbornly clinging down to number 5. Mostly because it's got a lock on a pretty massive radio margin, even if it looks like it has peaked for the year. Then we get 2 more Christmas songs, with A Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives actually penetrating the top 10 up to number 6. As a personal favorite of mine, that's very welcome to see. Along with It's the Most Wonderful Time by Andy Williams at number 7. Then we have Positions by Ariana Grande at number 8, which I'm gonna chalk up to a radio run that has not slowed down in the slightest. But then we got a real surprise here. Dynamite by BTS re-entering the top 10 at number 9. Yeah, the sales have always been great, but this looks to be the benefit of last-ditch remixes and an added shot of YouTube to compensate for radio nearly completely abandoning it. And finally, rounding out our top 10, once again, we've got Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano at number 10. Honestly, I've got nothing on why this song has had the staying power it has in 2020. It's kind of weird to me. But again, our real story here comes with our losers and dropouts, and when you factor in holiday music with 2 album bombs, my god, it was a bloodbath. Just in our notable losers here, we had Martin and Gina by Polo G, Life Goes On by BTS, Don't Stop by Megan Thee Stallion featuring Young Thug, POV by Ariana Grande, Hit Different by SZA featuring Ty Dolla $ign, Midnight Sky by Miley Cyrus, Wonder by Shawn Mendes, Seven Summers and Morgan My Hometown by Morgan Wallen, Happy Anywhere by Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani, and Savage Love by Josh 685 and Jason Derulo. And that also conveyed to our losers too, where a full quarter of the Hot 100 fell back. Now, some of these you would expect, like our debuts from last week, like On Me and Everybody with Lil Baby down at 60 and 98 respectively, or Without You by Kid LAROI down at 81. But then there's the holiday songs that took unexpected hits. Favorite Time of Year by Carrie Underwood at 99, the cover of Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Justin Bieber down further, and even then Here Comes Santa Claus by Gene Autry. Also among our gains cut short, we saw Good Time by Nico Moon back at 79, and while we're in Nashville, we also had Ain't Always the Cowboy by John Party hit 93, Forever After All by Luke Combs at 92, Love You Like I Used To by Russell Dickerson at 83, Big Big Plans by Chris Slane fell off to 73, I thought that would have more to it, Starting Over by Chris Stapleton skidded to 72, and I Should Probably Go to Bed by Dan and Shay hit 70. And then it keeps on coming. Throat Baby Go Baby by BRS Cash at 97, Prisoner by Miley Cyrus featuring Dua Lipa at 94, Mr. Right Now by 21 Savage, Metro Boomin and Drake at 88, My Ex's Best Friend by Machine Gun Kelly and Black Bear at 86, You Broke Me First by Tate McRae at 79, and BS by Jhené Aiko and Her at 76. And as for the rest, Diamonds by Sam Smith hit 66, Hawaii by Maluma fell to 65, Monster by Shawn Mendes and Justin Bieber fell down to 62. It already looks like the radio is stalling out for this. Wow, that album underperformed. WAP by Cardi B featuring Megan Thee Stallion continuing down to 55. Therefore I Am by Billie Eilish at 36. And even Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, it fell to 18. It might rebound, but still. But okay. What gains and returning entries are filling in the gaps here? Well, okay, in the former category, shocker, outside of Dynamite, it's just a lot of holiday music. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas by Perry Como at 12, Run Rudolph Run by Chuck Berry at 29, and even new arrivals like Take Me Home for Christmas by Dan and Shay up to 58, and Hallelujah by Carrie Underwood and John Legends at 84. But what caught me off guard is Cry Baby by Megan Thee Stallion featuring DaBaby making a return at 95. On the backs of what looks like a TikTok challenge. Just fantastic. One of the most thoroughly annoying songs on that album is going to become a meme hit. We already have Body, just goddamn wonderful. But again, the real story is the fact that we do have two album bombs here where it looks like Jack Harlow got squeezed out. I thought he had more hype. Again, I'm surprised. Now, in Taylor Swift's case, it's actually pretty easy. The entire album debuted on the Hot 100 this week, and the songs that fell below the top 40 and are neither the best nor the worst are Closure at 82, Marjorie at 75, Cowboy Like Me at 71, Long Story Short at 68, Dorothea at 67, Coney Island with the National at 63, Ivy at 61, Evermore with Bon Iver at 57, Happiness at 52, and Tolerated at 45. All fine and good. I reviewed Taylor Swift's album in full on my main channel. I have many more thoughts over there if you want to check it out. But given that I didn't review Kid Cudi's album, I will provide some brief thoughts here before listening to songs that qualify under the album bomb rules and reach neither best nor worst, which is basically all of them. So here it goes. I've never really been on the Kid Cudi train at any point, and while this is certainly more tolerable than some of his misbegotten experiments in the past couple of years, and his influence definitely extends over a lot of the current scene, especially for Travis Scott, I've always found his conceptual experiments kind of undercooked to match their ambition, which has led to a lot of his work feeling oddly hollow and just a lot less interesting than many of his fans would advocate. And with his pivots towards more modern progressions, it's hard to ignore just how little his content and delivery differentiate him outside of, well, he may have done it first. Ergo, the songs that he debuted this week are as follows. Beautiful Trip at 100, Damaged at 91, probably the best song here, although Sad People at 90 is a good second. Heaven on Earth at 85, Dive at 80, Mr. Solo Dolo 3 at 78. Definitely appreciated the more spacious downbeat vibe there. Another Day at 64, Show Out with Skepta and the Late Pop Smoke, which might be one of the most authentic posthumous Pop Smoke cuts that I've heard in a while. It's a drill cut I actually like, and that surprises me. Then She Knows This at 49, and Tequila Shots at 41. And then on Somehow, we got a lengthy list of new arrivals. Unfortunately, starting with number 89, Reminds Me of You by Kid LAROI and Juice WRLD.
I can't watch that show cause it reminds me of you. I can't even go there, it reminds me of you. I don't wanna do that, it reminds me of you.
I mean, I already don't like Kid LAROI for nakedly riding the coattails of his mentor to middling at best chart success, so obviously the next step is to grab a posthumous verse to slap on an instrumental that samples a Kim Petras song produced by Dr. Luke, because for some ungodly reason, there's a connection across management groups and they apparently knew each other. And you know, I'm not gonna deny the hook is kind of catchy, but it's also hyperbolic and completely incoherent across the song. You get the impression that Kid LAROI is actually starting to frame this as a mostly sincere tribute to Juice WRLD, because it's clear he's playing off that impression, until he starts saying that he's cutting off all his friends because they remind him of this person, and you suddenly realize he's not talking about Juice WRLD, but just some girl. Where Kid LAROI starts thinking about homicide because she left him. I get it's just melodrama, but not only can Kid LAROI not sell it, Juice WRLD's verse feels a bit more detailed and complicated than just getting a Glock. I'm not saying it doesn't have its own unique accusatory vibe, but it feels stitched together in post in the worst way possible. It does not fit at all, and frankly, Juice WRLD was on a different level than Kid LAROI. And when you tack on the connections that led to this even existing, yeah, no. Let's leave Kid LAROI in 2020. He's not worth keeping around. Next, number 74, Way Out by Jack Harlow featuring Big Sean.
I'ma stay out. Motherfuckers hate you when they looking for a way out. I just sit back and let it play out.
So again, I'm legit surprised that Jack Harlow didn't achieve more chart success off of this album. The reviews were okay to positive. He seemed like he was on the come up. I had hopes he had picked up more penetration here. And after listening to this, I'm still perplexed as to why it didn't happen, because this is fine. It's okay. Yeah, the fizzy trap beat feels distinctly underweight, and I don't think Big Sean's verse is good at all. Telling dumb girls to read while you talk about your pre-cum and then reference old girlfriends not still having feelings for you when you're dating Jhené Aiko, who absolutely will cut you. None of this makes you look good, Big Sean. But you know what? I think the hook is good, and Jack Harlow is a pretty damn competent rapper. Yeah, it's all bragging, and it's overall pretty low-key, but his rhyme construction and solid grasp of fundamentals make him hard for me to actively dislike, especially as his writing still has just enough flair to avoid a lot of filler bars that you often get from white boys who want to spit really fast. I'm not saying it's great by any means, that Big Sean verse, oof. But if more of the album was like this, I'm a little bit surprised it got overlooked. That's all I'm saying. Number 47, Deck the Halls by Nat King Cole.
La 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 la, 'tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la.
Okay, I actually really like Deck the Halls. It's one of those older carols I'm generally fond of, providing that it's paced and produced well. So why in the build up to the holidays this year we get this version charting? Because man, it does not flatter the late Nat King Cole at all. He was such a natural, warm presence on Christmas music because he doesn't need to lean on a lot of theatricality. He was just that relaxed and poised. So obviously you want a brassy, upbeat version of the song where he's struggling to keep pace, and it feels awkward all around. And the song barely even runs a minute. You couldn't let Nat King Cole get comfortable on something like this. He could have easily made it work. We could have had another holiday classic. But no, this is a classic case of the wrong arrangement for the performer, and frankly, Nat King Cole deserved way better than this. Let's move on. Number 40, Gold Rush by Taylor Swift.
I don't like anticipating my face in a red flush. I don't like that anyone would die to feel your touch.
So it certainly helps matters that the majority of the best songs on Evermore were also near the front of the project, and since that normally translates to better charting positions, I can get into them more quickly, with this probably being the most pop-accessible cut on the project, courtesy of that Jack Antonoff production credit. It'll probably be a single. At least if they know what they're doing. And it is a song I really like, mostly because Taylor Swift is letting a little bit more complexity into her writing. Yeah, it shows her nascent jealous streak that's always been there, but it also shows her great underlying fear of falling a little too hard for a guy where she just knows she's gonna be captivated by the romance and maybe let him get the better of her sharper instincts. And when you pair it with the subtle shimmer of the keys building behind the percussion and the strings, it hits that precise balance of enraptured panic that really makes it work. So yeah, it's a terrific little song, but not quite as good as number 39, 'Tis the Damn Season by Taylor Swift.
'Tis the damn season right this time. I'm staying at my parents' house, and the road not taking looks real good now.
Now this is one of my favorites. The moment where off the echoing electric guitar and the deeper thrum of the percussion, very national here, Taylor Swift plays the girl returning to her hometown from LA for the holidays. And she hits the precise sour note between small town disillusionment and the part of her that legit wants to stay and pitch the transparently phony side of LA because that old flame is starting to rekindle. And yet, I like how disposable the entire bitter moment feels. It's not a moment where she truly allows herself to embrace the romance of returning to going small town home, especially because she did make an effort to leave this guy in the first place, and she doesn't want to admit that there's anything left, especially not in the slow, lingering, tacky romanticism of Christmas, where she's stuck staying with family and she might want to be anywhere else. I like the song feels this uncomfortable, because it makes the core feel way more human and real, and the bridge especially really clinched it for me. So yeah, one of her better songs this year, just really damn sharp all the way down. I like it. Check it out. Number 34, Nobody, No Crime by Taylor Swift featuring Haim.
Yeah, no, nobody, no crime, but I ain't letting up until the day I die.
Oh god, I want to like this so much more than I do. Yeah, the Haim team-up is obvious, but Taylor Swift making a country murder ballad is something that she's shown the capacity to make for years now, and wow, it's thin. They had commented that they were inspired by the former Dixie Chicks song Goodbye Earl, a song that I genuinely dislike because of karaoke overplay, but also because it plays it all way too cutesy, which kills any sense of danger and stakes, which is half the fun of a great murder ballad. But this is better because Taylor Swift knows how to keep this simmering a little bit more haunted. But not only is the atmosphere nowhere near thick enough to win me over, the writing is way too tasteful to do more than imply any deaths, where plausibility and the deniability is set up for the audience as well as the story being told, and she didn't need to do it, because it feels like such a cop-out, because Taylor Swift also misses the opportunity to focus on the larger societal reaction. If she wants to make a story about women taking calculated revenge in a country style, show the extra step to highlight the reaction of the small town. Or better yet, make the details all the more lurid and spend your words on the graphic aftermath, not the Olive Garden. Even if I take the more sensationalist angle where Taylor Swift was actually the mistress in the story, again, why be so tasteful when you could be soapy and fun, especially when you've reaped the rewards of doing so before on this album? Again, it's not bad, but this should be way better than it is. And you want to know why? Number 21, Champagne Problems by Taylor Swift.
Left you out there standing, crestfallen on the land in champagne problems.
This could well be among one of her best songs this year. The best song on Evermore, and exactly what Taylor Swift's wordy brand of storytelling can really do at her best, especially against a pretty simple piano backdrop. Two college sweethearts where he was in love and wanted her to marry into his rich suburban family, but he never quite got her rougher edges and it all blows up in their faces. And what I love about the song is that the framing that pulls back just far enough to show her pain for having to let him down and her hopes that he'll find a better girl to fit into his story, but also a bit of the tragedy of seeing the cushy artifice that he built crumble around him, especially as they let loose with all the nasty words they've hidden behind the fake smiles. Really, if Folklore and Evermore have proven anything, it's showing that Taylor Swift is writing at her best when she does not conform, when she rips into the veneer off the waspy prep school shit, where she knows just how comfortably that she could be slot into it, but also just how simultaneously alluring and toxic it really is. And in terms of pure writing and arrangement, the chorus of backing vocals on the bridge is biting. For me, it's easily one of her best songs in 2020. Hell, maybe even beyond the year. We'll have to see. And finally, number 1, Willow by Taylor Swift.
Stray or follow, I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man.
Okay, at this point, I'm just convinced that Taylor Swift's team doesn't know how to pick good singles. And on a front-loaded album like Evermore, why are you going with this? It feels like an album cut from Folklore and not one of the better or more interesting ones. It's a pretty straightforward love song that shows Taylor Swift enamored over some guy, where she would do whatever it takes to truly clinch his affection, even if it could really ruin her prospects. And you know what, I get the conflict. I said in my Evermore review that Taylor Swift is obsessed with these passions that could run wild and overtake her life. She even mentioned it on Gold Rush. But more often than not, she just leans into it, and that doesn't make the song as interesting, especially when this is just so plucky and meandering. She's clearly trying to go for something a bit more mystical, but the atmosphere is just not there. Certainly warm, but it places Taylor Swift in her cooing upper register, which is rarely a strength in her arsenal, and there's little in the arrangement that really fleshes out the vibe she's clearly trying to chase in that video, even with the string slipping in. I don't know, it's fine, but it just feels very safe in comparison with the best songs of both albums that she put out this year. Can even a Taylor Swift stan say that this deserved to go to number 1 over, I don't know, The Last Great American Dynasty or Exile or hell, even Gold Rush? Yeah, That's what I thought. Anyway, that was our week. Honestly, wound up a little bit shorter than the double album normally portends, but the best and the worst fill up pretty fast too. In the latter category, Reminds Me of You by Kid LAROI in the late Juice WRLD easily takes the worst, and makes me think we might owe Nickelback an apology for their biggest hit given the title, and dishonorable mention to that truly misguided Deck the Halls cover by Nat King Cole. What happened there? I did not need to know that that existed. Best of the week both go to Taylor Swift. 'Tis the Damn Season gets honorable mention. Best of the week to Champagne Problems, and really, again, it's one of her best songs. Unfortunately, very little of this is likely to last, because Eminem decided at the last minute to release a deluxe edition of a mediocre album, and I would put money on an album bomb coming from that, so stay tuned. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Calls.